everybody, my name is Mr. Francy and welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads. Today I'm doing a book tag and it's not necessarily because I wanted to do a book tag, but because I found this book tag and went, yes, I need to do this. I have to say the most popular book tag I've ever seen is the Booktube Newbie tag. I did not know there was a Booktube Oldie Tag. Oh my gosh, we have to do this. I have not seen the questions, so you're going to get fresh answers from me. This is not prepared. The pause button is my friend. Okay, let's jump right into question 1. So, question 1. How long have you been a part of the Booktube community? Just over 3 years. And it feels longer. Not in a bad way, or a good way, just neutrally. It feels longer than 3 years, but 3 years and close on 3 years and a month. So, there you go. Prompt number 2. What was your biggest misconception before starting Booktube? That is a very good question. I've taken a bit of time to think about this answer, and I guess my best response to this is that it was going to be a lot easier than it ended up being. So when I first started my channel, it was incredibly basic. I did not think I would end up having any subscribers at all, let alone anyone who, gave me any likes or left me any comments. So I was literally filming for me. And whilst I do still film things that I want to film and that I enjoy, I'm also mindful that I have people who watch my videos. And because of that, anything too simple for me, I got to a point where that no longer worked. So, for example, I started introducing editing into my videos, which is something that I never did. And if you're someone who doesn't edit your videos, I'm not saying that you need to. This is something that I felt that I needed to do. No one needs to do it. The only requirement to be a booktuber is to find a way to film yourself talking about books, to do a video of you talking about books. So yeah, but for me, I end up including editing. I end up branching out, and rather than just talking about what my goals were or doing a reading vlog or a TBR or a monthly wrap, I started really thinking outside of the box about general book discussions, not about a specific book or series, but talking about spotlighting YAs or adult books or middle grades, sci-fis, horrors, fantasies, whatever it is, talking about world building, talking about booktube terminology, talking about this, that, the other, many different things. I branched out a whole lot further than I ever expected that I would. It's not a bad thing. It's just that when I first began, I thought this was going to be incredibly simple. Turns out for me, it's not so incredibly simple, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Editing stresses me out. I hire out my editing, so I am really thankful that I am in a position to be able to do that, because had I not been, my videos probably wouldn't look as good as they do these days. So big shout out to my editor. Thank you for all your hard work that you do. But yeah, it is not as simple or easy as I once thought it was going to be, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Question number 3. How do you think Booktube has changed since you first started? I'm going to piggyback off my last answer by saying Booktube as a whole is not as simple as it once was. What was once considered an area where everyone did a TBR, a monthly wrap, a reading vlog, a dedicated book review, and that was pretty much it, has now branched out to bigger things. So there is so much more variety on Booktube than there used to be. Now, I am in no way, shape or form a traditionalist, but I do miss the simple times where you would have a booktuber who wouldn't care that they were doing a TBR video that featured a book and a reading vlog that featured the same book, and then do a dedicated book review for that same book, and then do a monthly wrap that featured that same book. But, viewers it seems, got sick and tired of seeing the same thing over and over and over again and wanted variety to keep them interested. I understand that. I appreciate that. But that is the biggest difference that I've seen, is that things used to be a lot more minimalistic on Booktube than they are compared to now. Change can be a good or a bad thing. I miss the simple times, but I do love the variety we have on Booktube at the same time. Question number 4. What is your favorite Booktube memory? Oh my gosh, there are so many. My Harry Potter book reviews, I had a lot of fun doing dedicated book reviews for Harry Potter because I went into so much detail about it. My celebrating booktubers videos, oh my gosh, so many good memories with that. I'm sure there are others. Attempting to do the You Choose My TBR that ended up failing. So I had this idea of going back a year into the past to see what had been on my TBR and allowing all of you to vote on the books that I'd read that month, that upcoming month, the year previously, to pick one of them for me to reread. It never took off, but it was fun to do and fun to watch because I would cut in then and now moments throughout those videos, which were not easy to create, but were so much fun to watch back for me. But yeah, many, many, many good memories of being on Booktube as a creator. But also, I have to say, all of the friendships that I've made that have opened me up to so many more experiences that I wouldn't necessarily have had I not made all the friends that I have as part of my Mr. Francy Reads Booktube community / Discord community too. But yeah, all of that. Question number 5. What are some books that you were introduced to because of Booktube? Oh my gosh, I've been asked this question before, probably about 2-3 years ago, and it is the same answer to this day. 97, if not 98% of the books that are on my bookshelf, I was introduced to because of a Booktuber. Like, seriously, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a classic, it could be a fantasy, it could be a cozy, it could be a sci-fi, it could be a thriller, it could be a romance, it could be an LGBTIQ+, it could be a contemporary, it could be a paranormal, it could be a Christmassy themed book. It doesn't matter. 97 to 98% of the books on my shelves would not be there if not for me experiencing Booktube and seeing all the books that are out there, because a lot of the books that I have, I'd probably say about 75% of the books that I have on my shelves, I've had to order from America because we don't have them here in Australia. So I've been exposed to a much broader range of books because of Booktube. So yeah, I'm incredibly grateful for that. So anyway, the question is, what are some of the books? So, and here I am talking about, gushing about how it's 97, 98% of the books on my shelves. But if I were to give you some examples of standouts that I wouldn't know of if not for Booktube, I would have to say Assaulted Caramel by Amanda Flower. I'd never heard of Cozy Mysteries, let alone Amanda Flower, let alone her Candy Shop series, but I love that book so much and I would not have known about it if not for Booktube. And then There Were None by Agatha Christie is another recommendation I got from Booktube. The Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. I picked up book 1 because of the controversy that surrounded it, not because I wanted to blast about Cassandra Clare, but because there was so much controversy about it, it made me want to read it and see where I stood after reading it. So yeah, definitely I would have to say whatever book 1 is in the Mortal Instruments series. The Wayward Children series, oh my gosh, I definitely would not have known about that if not for Booktube. Seriously, I'm just looking at my bookshelves right now while I'm saying this, and as I say, 97 to 98% of the books I would not have heard of. Vampire Academy I knew of because I used to read that series as a child. The Selection series I had never seen before Booktube. So again, I have to order that from America. We don't have the Selection series in stores here in Australia. Cozy Mysteries are not a thing in Australia, and if they are a thing, they're called Cozy Crime, which doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, so many. Thank you for all the recommendations, Booktubers. Question 6. What is something that frustrates you about Booktube? Oh my gosh, what frustrates me? Okay, I'm gonna say something. Don't judge me, okay? Because you probably will. But the first thought that comes to mind is the pandering. I'm not saying that every booktuber panders, and in fact, I am not saying that the majority of booktubers pander, but I see a lot of pandering to an audience with Booktube. Now, that is not saying that it doesn't happen in other niche sections of YouTube. Then again, in saying that, 98% of the videos I watch on YouTube are Booktube videos, so I'm basically mostly surrounded by Booktube compared to other avenues or other areas of YouTube. But I do see pandering occur, and it's just not something that I like. For me, I think it's because of who I am as a creator. Whilst I am, and I've already said this in this video, mindful of the fact that people do watch my videos, and I sometimes create, keeping in mind that I have people that watch these videos, what I would do is come up with things that I think might be helpful for people who are watching them. So if I do a sci-fi books recommendations or a Booktube terminology video, that is something that I think might be helpful to my viewers, or in this case listeners, while I'm doing audio recordings. But I see a lot of booktubers out there who seem to pander to what their subscribers want, and the subscribers dictate their reading or their content, and I'm just not a fan of that. I don't experience the pressures of needing to make money from Booktube. It is a hobby for me. I am not monetized at all, let alone being at risk of being monetized, because I'm not monetized. I used to think about how many subscribers I had. I don't nowadays. So subscribers and my commenters do not dictate what I film or what I read. If I keep them in mind, it's because that's what I'm doing, not because I feel like they're forcing me to. And I've seen booktubers out there who will dedicate videos that they may not necessarily want to do, that you can tell they're kind of doing it for their subscribers, or that they're reading books because their subscribers want them to, as opposed to books that they necessarily want to read. Excuse me, my voice is going. I've been talking all day for my job. My job I do get paid for. But yeah, that is just one thing that I don't like about Booktube. I've seen a lot of pandering that goes on, and I'm just not a fan of pandering. Be you, be who you are, be the individual you are that sparkles your positive energy all throughout the world, as opposed to being someone who caters what you do to your audience out of fear that you might lose them if you don't do that. That is something that I see that is done in a quite an obvious way. And yeah, I just don't appreciate that. But there you go. That's just my opinion. I've already said that. I don't have to say that again. Okay, we'll move on. Okay, what is your hope for the future of Booktube? My hope for the future of Booktube is that it continues to grow. My hope is that it gets recognized more and more. 3 years ago when I first started my channel, it was not at all that much longer after I first discovered Booktube. And I had been a content creator prior to being a booktuber, but I had never ever heard of Booktube. And had I not gone down that rabbit hole on that fateful summer's day 3 years ago, looking up stuff to do with Harry Potter and coming across someone who spoke only of the Harry Potter books, realizing that all they speak about on their channel is books, and realizing that's called a booktuber, I would probably still not know that Booktube is even a thing. So one thing that I definitely hope for the future of Booktube is that it gets more exposure than it had back then. Now that I know of this world, I am not only aware of it, but I'm actively involved in it. Not just because I have a channel, but as I say, 98% of what I watch on YouTube is Booktube content. So I'm actively a part of this world each and every single day of my life since I've discovered it. But back then, I did not know that this world, this niche corner of YouTube existed. So I think that first and foremost, the biggest thing that I hope for the future of Booktube is that it has more exposure than it did back then. I hope that everyone can come to learn what Booktube is and whether they are a reader or not. If that interests them enough to give a booktuber a go by watching a booktube video and seeing how they go with that, I think can only be an amazing thing. Not because I feel like each booktube creator needs more subscribers, but because I think reading is such a good thing for people in general. There are studies that show just how advantageous it is to read. And it doesn't matter if you're reading 50 or 100 books or more a year, or if you just read one book a year and take your time. Reading is extremely advantageous. I feel like Booktube has helped to keep me motivated. Booktube could get people who were readers and aren't readers motivated to go back into reading, or people who don't read at all motivated to read, and I think that it needs more exposure than it has. I also want to see more individuality. Just quickly piggybacking off my last answer, I see a lot of the time that there's a lot of copying that goes on Booktube. And I'm not talking about your cornerstone stuff. So I'm not talking about monthly wraps and TBRs and reading vlogs. I'm not talking about that because that is more just seen as the done thing. Not everyone does them, but those who do it because that is what Booktube is. But I see a lot of specific content that gets copied, and I want to see more individual videos come out because variety is the spice of life. I also want to see the bigger booktubers picking up hidden gems. One thing that I find a lot of, especially with the bigger booktubers, is that there are books. It's like all these bigger booktubers are subscribed to this fantastic book club that you can only get into if you have 100,000 subscribers on Booktube, and they all get the same book every month, and so that's why it has so much exposure. You know, there are so many books out there that I am so turned off of because I can't help but think, oh my gosh, I'm seeing this book again. How many videos do I have to see this book in? And yet there may be some other type of book that intrigues me, excuse me, that I've only seen once, and it's a hidden gem. So I want to see people be more individualistic. You know, you may be intrigued by a book that is incredibly popular, and I'm not telling you if you're a booktube creator not to read that book. Please go ahead and read what you want to read. But also at the same time, don't be turned off by a book because it doesn't have a lot of exposure. Pick it up. Give it a go. It's a hidden gem. You may end up loving it. You may end up being the one that, you know, introduces it to the world of Booktube. So that's what I want to see more of as well. More exposure for Booktube in general, but also I want to see more individuality when it comes to Booktube, whether it be the types of videos that are created or the books that are picked up. I want to see more hidden gems as opposed to everyone just jumping on the hype train. But anyway, that's just my opinion, and I think that is actually it, which is kind of sad because I would have liked for there to mean more questions. But oh well, we'll end it there. That is the Booktube Oldie Tag. This tag was created by Monica Kim on the 25th of March 2020 for booktubers who have been around for a while. So thank you, Monica Kim. I really appreciate the opportunity to do this video, considering how many times I've seen the Booktube newbie tag be done. It's great to do the Booktube Oldie Tag. But what would you answer for this question, whether you've been around Booktube for a long time or not as a creator or not? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. But in the meantime, that is where I am going to leave it. Then you'll go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, happy reading. Bye everyone.